How's it going today? So today we are going to talk about a series of exercises that can both be used as a warm-up and as just mobility drills in general to keep the flow through the hip and keep the activation in the hip as well, so that then when we go to stabilize and strengthen on top of it, we have the mobility and the range and are working on gaining that so that we have a stable base to be able to actually generate the right kind of output from the hip. Now, the hip needs to be able to do different motions like flexion, extension, as well as adduction, abduction, and rotation. So external, internal rotation as well. So we have multiple movements that we need to keep in health to be able to have a healthy hip. Now, people that often present into the office that have low back pain also have hip mobility issues. Now, if we have a hip mobility issue, then our spine and other areas are also going to accommodate as well and produce faulty movement patterns in the body, so that then when we try to go strengthen on top of it, we can't access the either proper activation of the muscles, if you want to say it that way, or the right input to get a full strength load on top of it. So first we need to have mobility, then the triad, we need to have stability on top of that to be able to then strengthen and get the maximum output that you want to get from a joint and from your body. So like I said, we're going to start today with a series of movements, and you can break these movements out. You can also look at my YouTube channel for different breakdowns of things like the glute bridge and of the hip car, which we are going to do a series of movements like the hip car here in just a bit. We're just going to do rotations of the knee and of the hip. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is going to be the lying leg raise exercise. Now, if you're an athlete and you're actually warming up using this exercise, then you can go a little bit faster than what I'm going to demonstrate here. So for my average person watching this video, you can just go at a moderate pace, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate today. Now, what I like to do is have the arms straight out. I'm going to come at an angle so you guys can see me. We're going to take the feet with the toes pointed up, and you're going to raise the leg. You're going to do 5 to 10 repetitions on each side for each exercise. So I'm going to do 5, and then I'm going to swap to the other side. Now what we want to try to do is keep our hips on the ground here. We're just going to use our leg to get that range of motion. And if you hear a little bit of popping and clicking, that's totally okay. Sometimes that's normal. Now we're going to go into a glute bridge, then we're going to go into a single leg glute bridge. Now, if you're ever warming up legs, things like hip airplanes, hip cars, glute bridges can all kind of prime, if you will, the muscular system pretty well to get the right amount of blood flow to the area so that then we can load weight on top of it. Now, your muscles are always active, so the theory that muscles are inactive, we won't get into that a ton today. However, muscles are always active. Sometimes you may just have more dominant patterns and more dominant muscles that are typically used because we can't access the full, like I said earlier, mobility and then stability to build the strength on top of the joint and musculoskeletal complex. So we're going to go into the glute bridge now. Now for this one, the closer your feet are into your body, the easier this is going to be, and the less your hamstrings might want to work here. I'm going to back mine out just a little bit. Now, what I don't want to see is you arching your back off the floor. So if you can get your hand underneath your back, then what you're going to do is point your back towards the floor. Now, we do have a normal amount of spinal lordosis that happens there, so we do want a slight curve in the back. So I don't want you to push it all the way towards the floor so that your pelvis comes off the ground, but just maintain a neutral back. Now, if you have trouble with this, you can also put something in between the knees to squeeze as well to make sure that you gain full access of the glutes with the exercise. So we're going to push our hips up towards the ceiling, making sure that it's even in line, not rotated to one side or the other side. You're going to do 5 to 10 repetitions of those as well. Now, if we lose it and start to arch, when we come up, reset that back, and then push up again using our glutes. Okay? Then you're going to go into a single leg exercise. Now, the single leg can be demonstrated here or up here. We're going to have the foot down here. I'm going to back my foot into my booty just a little bit more here, and we're going to raise up. And then swap sides. You should not feel this in your back. And if you do, reset and then go again. Now, you may have noticed that my hips were a little uneven on that exercise. If you notice that when you're going back, and if you record yourself, or if you have somebody watching, or if you can feel the difference side to side, try to make sure that we maintain that evenness of the hips as we go, okay? So we're going to swap to some quadruped exercises now.
The first exercise is going to be the quadruped hip extension. As you see in this first repetition, I have tucked my pelvis before I'm raising my leg. The hip only extends about 20 degrees, so there's no need to arch the back or recruit the back with this exercise. You'll notice it's a little bit more difficult for me to control it on this side. Do your best to maintain that core pressure and make sure that you don't feel this in your back. Second exercise is going to be this adductor rock back. Repeat this 2 sets for 5 to 10 repetitions each, and you should feel a really good stretch in the inner side of your leg. The next one is going to be the quadruped hip rotation, which is very similar to the hip car. The only thing we are not doing here is going to be the internal rotation aspect. Repeat this forward and backwards. This one is the fire hydrant, where you're going to have the knee and foot at a 90-degree angle to the hip. You're going to raise it up as high as you can, maintaining that neutral spine and back here. If that's too easy, and once you get really good at that, you're going to progress it to a single leg raise like I'm demonstrating here.